Hello everyone, today I am incredibly excited to continue introducing to you a truly captivating comic series. This story not only draws you in with its thrilling plot, but also with its intricately crafted and profound characters. Let's dive into the latest developments and uncover the secrets waiting to be revealed. A man who has nurtured a little donkey for nearly a century now pours a cup of strong liquor into its mouth. Afterward, he positions himself comfortably, preparing for a legendary attack that has been in the making for 1,000 years. His sole intention is to drive the donkey into a frenzy and end his own life. However, to his surprise, in the donkey's eyes, he appears merely as an insignificant ant. Yet, to others, it transforms into a divine being imbued with mystical powers. With just a sip of alcohol, the little donkey morphs into a human form. Joyfully, it dashes ahead, only to be unexpectedly poked by its master, causing a hint of embarrassment. To avoid inciting the wrath of heaven and earth, it would be wise for the master to keep a safe distance from it. The donkey's kick is so powerful that it sends me into a daze. At long last, I can return to the real world. I was once a third-year martial arts student, but just before the college entrance exam, I suffered an accident that left my left foot shattered. I thought my academic journey had come to an end right here. Suddenly, an owl appeared before me, awakening the legendary genius system. I stepped into the realm of the system and studied for a year, while only a minute passed in the real world. Without a second thought, I signed a contract for 500 minutes. After all, it was just 500 minutes a blink, and it would be gone. But soon enough, regret washed over me. 100 years' worth of time was more than enough to accumulate all kinds of skills. This space was perpetually shrouded in crimson fog. My only companion was a donkey and a flock of chicks. If I were to stay here for another 400 years, I would surely go insane. The system revealed that the only way to escape this place was to meet my demise. Thus, I hatched a plan involving the donkey. At that moment, outside the crimson fog, 3 shadows approached. Leading them was an elderly man who anxiously raised his head. The fog had become increasingly thin. One of the disciples in black, curious, turned back and asked, "What will happen if the fog here dissipates?" Hearing this, Lin Kuang's heart jolted. Legend spoke of this place as the burial ground of the ancient demon god, Mi Tian. In the past, he had used the fog to turn this area into a forbidden zone. There was once a sect known as the Tian sect that safeguarded this cursed tomb for generations. Later, the Tian sect established the Tian dynasty, and this place became a part of the imperial court. Sadly, the dynasty collapsed over 900 years ago, and no one has come to protect this tomb since. However, within the Tian dynasty, a tale still lingers. Lin Kuang spoke fervently, gripping the sword at his waist, which he suddenly drew out. He began to carve into the earth as the fog enveloped them, and the fierce winds swept away the ancient demon god's schemes that had spanned millennia. Life and death intertwined, giving birth to a new beginning, unregretful. Upon seeing the drawing on the ground, everyone's faces changed dramatically. It was clear that when the fog dissipated, the ancient demon god would be resurrected. Lin Kuang sheathed his sword and nodded, foreseeing that chaos would soon reign once more. Young disciple Lu Xinye, curious, stepped closer and asked, "Master, do you know all the secrets within the royal family? Have you truly encountered the last queen?" A deep sigh escaped him as he reflected on the last queen. Indeed, he had. The old horse had approached the edge of the forbidden zone. No matter how great the fury, it could not disturb its master. He recalled some melodies that his master often sang. Those mystical tunes, brimming with vitality, filled him with hope that such songs could soothe the wrath of the heavenly way. The 3 of them, Lin Kuang and the others, stood outside the forbidden area when suddenly a sound imbued with an enigmatic essence rang out. The other 2 found the sound to be melodious, while Lu Xinye, well-versed in music theory, was instantly mesmerized. Such a sound carried a divine vitality, making her feel as though her body was overflowing with spiritual energy. In that moment, she teetered on the brink of a breakthrough. Seeing Lu Xinye achieve a breakthrough from just a single song, Lin Kuang and the others couldn't help but feel immense joy. Yet, this opportunity arrived in such a strange manner. The donkey, for the first time, transformed into a human form, sang passionately, lost in the moment. Unbeknownst to him, an entire night had slipped away. When he realized that the wrath of the heavenly order had yet to descend, the red mist surrounding the forbidden area vanished without a trace. Lotu Na felt a surge of joy within her heart. It had been a night of uninterrupted bliss. As the red mist dissipated, I caught sight of a girl in red on the other side of the cliff. Elated, I waved at her. "Sister, it was you singing yesterday, wasn't it?" Lu Van Kiet, with his gaze fixed on the cliff, recognized that she was a practicing cultivator of humanity, greeting him with a warm smile. Suddenly, a powerful feeling surged within him, prompting to dash into the depths of the red mist. He couldn't allow these people to bring about his demise. He had to preserve his useful body to serve his master. When Lin Kuang and his disciples awoke, they were astounded to see the red mist, which had shrouded them for nearly 1,000 years, suddenly vanish as if it were a mere illusion. They never anticipated that in their pursuit of a mysterious girl, they would stumble upon a forbidden zone. Seeing this, the two hurriedly chased after her. Just as I was still in a daze, the braying of the donkey jolted me awake. It was unbelievable that I was still alive. But as the mist cleared, I realized how vast this space truly was. Looking up at the sky, I could see 3 figures approaching from the distance. Could this truly be the legendary world of immortal cultivation? The man merely poured a jug of wine for the little donkey, but to his surprise, the donkey transformed into a human figure. To avoid alarming the heavenly powers, the donkey dashed towards the edge of the crimson mist and began to sing. Not only did no heavenly blade descend upon him, but the fog surrounding the forbidden area also dissipated. Crimson mist on the ground vanished without a trace. As the fog lifted, an extraordinary being emerged. To avoid being killed, he retained his useful identity and unexpectedly led that person right to my doorstep. The old madman, witnessing this turn of events, felt a tempest brewing within his heart. Thinking that if this individual were indeed an ancient demon god reincarnated, he must be eliminated at once. Yet, even though the opponent had attempted to conceal his power, I could still sense the immense spiritual energy emanating from his body. It seems that the cultivation level of this demon god has reached the pinnacle of the entire continent. To ensure my survival, I cannot act impulsively. Looking at these humans, they held their breath, paralyzed by fear, not daring to move. The little donkey peeked out from behind its master, sticking out its tongue in mockery, which infuriated me, prompting me to draw my sword. But I was stopped by the old madman Li. Inside, I felt a wave of joy wash over me. Just as I had drawn my sword, it seemed I had found an opportunity to seek death. Old madman Li stepped forward, beaming like a blooming flower, and asked, "Might I inquire your name, my friend?" Meanwhile, I was still grappling with my thoughts. Thinking about how to avoid being killed, I decided to invite them into my home for a while, seeking an opportunity. Old Li was also trying to gauge my power, so I happily agreed. Once everyone settled in, I merely exchanged a few casual greetings before heading off to prepare a meal. Little did I expect. The guests were already in a state of shock, unable to sit still. This place indeed radiated an intense spiritual energy, unparalleled even by heavenly realms. Training here would surely lead to easy breakthroughs. Old Li gazed outside with a wary eye, never letting his guard down, especially since there was a demonic donkey in the vicinity. It was clear they were no ordinary folk. Lu Dunqi transformed into human form and strolled in, while those with him, mere mortals, dared not see through their master's path. The demonic donkey, already displeased, drew its sword and lunged forth, only to be effortlessly caught between Lu Dunqi's 2 fingers. "A mere sword wielder like you dares to draw against me." With that, she bent the sword back with ease. "You thought I fled this morning simply out of fear of the demon clan. Do you truly believe I cannot defeat 2 little girls like you?" Lutu quickly sought a way to mediate, saying, "I just wanted to ask the name of that piece of music. I had no intention of killing you." Old Li's face was filled with astonishment. He had not expected that even this demonic donkey had reached a level similar to his own. The young man's cultivation was indeed hard to gauge. Just when he could not retract his sword, it unexpectedly slipped from his grasp, leaving him looking quite flustered. Holding the sword in my hand, my fingertips gently tapped, causing the blade to slip from my grasp. Witnessing this scene, Yeo Kong-hoi was utterly astonished. A formidable monster like this rang. After our meal, all must vanish into the distance, leaving my happy life and that of my master undisturbed. With that, it transformed into a small donkey and turned its back, departing. However, before leaving, there was an unusual sound from the bell. Not long after, I prepared a sumptuous feast. Just by downing a cup of my specially brewed wine, even a father would be left with a swollen nose. Killing me isn't as easy as it seems. The rich aroma of the wine lifted the spirits of the three of us. This dining table was imbued with the profound mysteries of heaven and earth, a chance for Mukfi to break through. How intriguing! I made a special introduction of the mafo tofu dish, drizzled over rice. It was simply delectable. At first, I thought they might scoff at my culinary skills, but little did I know, the people of this world never laid eyes on tofu. I could only explain that it was akin to food derived from alchemy. Upon hearing this, Lutu was instantly taken aback. So this is a type of elixir, one bite in, and they couldn't stop, becoming tipsy and euphoric. Yeo Kong-hoi looked on in admiration. Li Lao-dian, after all, was a master of culinary delights, savoring each bite slowly. Finding the atmosphere of the meal too dull, I grasped a cup of wine, and to myself, I thought, if I could just get them drunk, I could eliminate them. This would be my final cup of wine. Little did I expect that after drinking, Lutu would directly break through to the middle stage of Neat Da Li. Even the old madman, after taking a sip, found that even his old wounds had begun to heal. Only Yeo Kong-hoi rose unsteadily and then collapsed. I hurriedly rushed to support her. "My lady, are you all right?" Little did I know, the next moment would take an unexpected turn. The beauty I cherished suddenly changed expression, and the spiritual sword at her waist was swiftly drawn out. The sudden turn of events filled my heart with immense joy. If I can't kill you today, I won't take you seriously. As I watched the precious sword aimed at me, Lutu quickly stood up to block it, but was immediately intercepted by the mad old man, Li. Yeo Kong-hoi would lose control every time she broke through. Her combat power would temporarily double, but when Yeo Kong-hoi lost control, the spiritual sword would become less accurate. This was a perfect opportunity to test the capabilities of the demon child. Hearing the commotion inside, Lu Dongqi's ears perked up, and she dashed toward the house. How dare this shameless little man show such disrespect to his master? I feared that the noise would resonate like clashing metal within the house. I was unscathed, on the contrary. Yeo Kong-hoi's spiritual sword had shattered into 3 pieces. Facing Lu Dongqi's disdainful block, I stepped out with an air of self-satisfaction, leaving the two of them in a daze, staring at each other. This was no ordinary treasured sword, yet it was broken like this by a kick. I looked down in disappointment at the ground, where the shards of the mundane world lay scattered, shattered by a foolish donkey. How could such a thing dare to be called a spiritual sword? My sword, the symbol of my destiny, had now been senselessly destroyed. I felt a surge of fury rising within me, and suddenly a mouthful of fresh blood spurted right onto my face. Startled, I quickly released my grip. I had cared for him so diligently, yet now I found myself the victim of this elaborate setup. I even hoped they would end my life, but little did I expect to become the one wronged first. At least I had learned from the scholarly system, scoring a perfect 100. Whether it was an illness or merely a scam, you could never deceive me. With that thought, I pulled out a silver needle, preparing to commence my performance. As my hand rested on Dao Bahoi's pulse, my expression suddenly turned grave. Li Fengtu was immediately alarmed. Could there still be hope for my disciple, I sighed, knowing I had to take a gamble. With that, I instructed Lucy to remove some of Dao Bahoi's clothing so I could test the needle. As for the method of testing the needle, I needn't elaborate. I'm sure you wouldn't understand. To speak of it, none would truly understand. When it comes to relics, everything hinges on your fate. Finally, Dao Bathoi gradually regained consciousness, and Lucy joyfully exclaimed. Upon awakening, Dao Bathoi immediately attempted to withdraw the silver needle from his body, but Li Fengtu swiftly held him back. Surely, that technique I just witnessed is the magical art of metal manipulation, something I had only seen once in my childhood within the palace. But now that I've saved myself, Even if it involves dark sorcery, it's of no concern, knowing that I'm the one who rescued him. Dao But Hoi immediately expressed his gratitude. I merely brushed it off, yet deep down, I was tangled in thoughts of how I had ended up saving someone when all I wanted was to end my own life. Surviving this time, I couldn't help but wonder what I'd have to do next to seek death again. What a headache. After recovering, Dao But Hoi picked up the broken sword from the ground, his heart filled with sorrow. Seeing that, I couldn't bear it either. It was all due to that stubborn donkey. I could only blame myself for not teaching it well. Don't blame the master. The little donkey merely wanted to save its owner. With that, Dao But Hoi held the broken sword and turned to Li Fengtu, saying, "This sword has accompanied me for many years. I hope to lay it to rest properly." After finishing his words, he suddenly turned to me and asked, "Could you lend me a bit of wine?" I nodded shyly, but I wondered if a little wine would suffice. Just as I retrieved my ink set, Lucy peeked in and asked, "Hey, what are you doing?" Holding the brush in my hand, I replied, "In my hometown, wine and poetry make the perfect duo for friends when the brush glides on paper." Powerful strokes of the brush allowed those around to feel the essence of wisdom. Each line and curve carried the spirit of the sword. However, within it lay meanings too terrifying. If an ordinary person dared to recklessly wield such power, they would surely face immediate annihilation. I handed the scroll of paintings to Dao But Hoi. "This shall be the offering I present to you." Dao But Hoi's heart overflowed with joy. Knowing that his sword would accompany this poem, he had no regrets left. Having accomplished everything, the sky outside darkened. Li Fengtu earnestly invited him to stay for the night. He still wished to observe me, the one labeled as the reincarnated demon god. In my heart, I felt a surge of happiness, ready to find an excuse to keep them from leaving. For if they departed, who would I have to slay to find my own end? As night fell, I quietly slipped out of the house, not expecting. This girl had truly crafted a grave for her sword. The divine blade lay peacefully beneath the earth. Meanwhile, I was left grappling with thoughts on how to perish, hoping to meet my demise with the same honor as she did. Once, I too was a martial disciple, but I broke my bones while saving a stranger. It was this injury that forced me to abandon the martial arts examination, redirecting my focus to literature and science. In the end, I was deceived by the system. Although I now excel in both academics and martial arts, being trapped here for 400 years is beyond words. I just set up a game of Tai Chi. It had been ages since I practiced now. All I could do was dance through Tai Chi, reminiscing about the past. Lucy dreamily stepped out of her room, intending to relieve herself. A sudden gust of wind swept through, nearly dispelling her urge to go. She stealthily poked her head out to gaze at the yard, where an exceptionally handsome man was performing a martial art of unknown origins. His hands intertwined as if all the laws of heaven and earth were at his command. Instantly, she rushed back to inform her senior sister, Dao But Hoi. Dao But Hoi subconsciously touched the spot she had lost earlier in the day. Even now, she could still sense the source of that power. Who exactly was this Mr. Hei was practicing Tai Chi, reminiscing about the past. Unexpectedly, it had been 10 years since she last fought, yet now it came back to her as if no time had passed. Reflecting on a strike from before, she recalled how it could sever an entire arena. Little did she know, the heavens were indifferent to her musings. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck from the sky, instantly reducing a nearby tree to splinters. This sent chills down her spine, making her break into a cold sweat. If that lightning had hit her, she would have been reduced to ashes in an instant. Life went on. I was relentless in my self-torment. In a fleeting moment, I arrived at the profound realization this was the thunder of the immortal realm, intent on obliterating me alongside countless ordinary souls. Surely, such a fate couldn't be sealed in mere minutes. As I reveled in my clever thoughts, giggles echoed through the room. It turned out Lucy was practicing the nameless techniques I had taught her. Each movement radiated the essence of martial arts, yet no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't grasp their true nature. I gently ruffled her hair, a tender gesture of affection. The man with the surname Ni is far from ordinary. His power is formidable. As for his martial arts, only those with true insight can grasp them. We are still inexperienced, and for now, we are not yet capable. At this moment, the girl lying under the sky begins to awaken, stretching her body before transforming into a human figure. My master is incredibly powerful, far beyond what two little girls like you can hope to learn. The technique he demonstrated seems to be called Tai Chi. It appears slow and gentle, yet the strikes come with surprising grace. Oh, my master excites me to no end. I must quickly find a place to practice my skills. With that thought, I dashed outside, focusing my mind to naturally merge with the Tao. The Tao gives birth to the tools, and these tools further divide yin and yang. At the same moment, the avatar of the heavenly Tao, shrouded in clouds, found itself in a state of confusion. Just now, I was struck by a surge of spiritual energy, and in my panic, I inadvertently unleashed a bolt of lightning. Looking down, I saw Lu Zhangqi practicing his form, muttering a curse under his breath. A donkey, startled awake, narrowly escaped the lightning that had just struck us. If this is the heavenly Tao's avatar, it cannot go unpunished. It must be dealt with immediately. It's time to teach Lu Zhangqi a lesson. In the blink of an eye, a bolt of lightning fell from the sky, and there I stood atop the mountain, wielding an iron pan, yet no lightning seemed to target me. In my fury, I hurled the pan and shouted in anger. This heavenly path must be a severe myopic foe. How could one use an iron pan to attract lightning, yet fail to summon it? This suicidal scheme certainly needs reevaluation. In this realm of immortal cultivation, there should be some bizarre stipulations, like an oath. If one fails, they shall be struck by lightning. I swear, I shall become a truly despicable man. If not, then the heavens will strike me down 5 times. Just think about it. Embracing both sides and turning into a terrible man sounds quite interesting. Let's see if it works after all. There's nothing to lose. The moment I made the vow, a bolt of lightning struck right at my feet. Oh, this could actually succeed. If it's possible, then let's just go for it. At the same time, Lu Zhangqi was still immersed in excitement. The lightning from the heavens seemed unable to find its mark on him. He had sworn to hit us, and the heavenly Tao took form, grinding its teeth in fury, immediately launching a powerful technique. I refuse to believe it can't strike us completely. Tonight, I must feast on the fool. Powerful strike descended straight down. I swear this comic can't possibly be boring. Suddenly, lightning struck again. Each strike resonated, turning me to ashes. Hearing my vow, the bolt of lightning unexpectedly veered towards me. Watching the lightning approach, I finally broke into a relieved smile. This time, it must hit me and obliterate me. As the lightning came closer, I couldn't help but smirk. With a loud explosion, the mountaintop was blown away. Next morning, Lin Dian, filled with worry, opened his door. The night before, he'd wanted to relieve himself, but was so frightened by the deafening thunder that he huddled in bed all night. At that moment, Yao Buhui and his friend had just arrived. Last night, their disciple had gone through a profound experience. Suddenly, I sensed that the heavenly tribulation had arrived. I wondered if it was due to your cultivation. Lian Dian, feeling shy, denied it. Could I possibly do such a thing? Perhaps another cultivator was undergoing their own training nearby. The tribulation last night seemed far from ordinary. I wondered if my master knew the reason behind it. It turned out it was the thunder of divine liquor, powerful enough to devastate a region. Only the legendary son of rebellion could be born from such calamity. The heavenly Tao had unleashed this tribulation. Upon hearing this, Lucy was left speechless. Such strength in last night's tribulation. This tribulation hadn't appeared for thousands of years, and I only knew of its origins through ancient texts. The son of rebellion is none other than the demon lord. Destroying humanity would be but a fleeting moment for him. If last night's tribulation was indeed caused by him, then it's no surprise. But if that's the case, why have we remained unscathed until this very moment? Just then, as I stumbled in with a disheveled appearance, wielding a frying pan, Lian Dian spat out a mouthful of blood. The scene was reminiscent of a ruffian. It was clear that he had lured the heavenly tribulation without sustaining any injuries at all. How utterly defiant of fate, Yao Buhui stepped forward to greet me. Feeling a bit awkward, I scratched my head and asked, "Miss Yao, is your injury feeling any better?" Yao Buhui, with a relieved expression, indicated that her wounds had almost fully healed. I must also thank Old Ni for his timely assistance. Before I could say anything further, Lucy tugged at my sleeve, calling out to her brother. "Did you see the sky last night? Those lightning strikes kept coming towards us." She then mimicked the motion of the lightning with her hands. I had seen it, but the strikes had been too weak last night. I had been struck all night, feeling a numbness all over, but nothing more. While it sounds easy to say, those listening were all ears. Lian Dion couldn't help but interject. "Isn't this the time to keep your identity a secret? Must you brag like this? Why not just say that the lightning last night was caused by your little brother?" In truth, my little brother, who had indeed caused the heavenly tribulation, was sneezing away in the courtyard. Lian Dian, growing increasingly worried about me, swore to himself that I absolutely must not regain my powers. He had to eliminate me right here in this small courtyard. After being struck by lightning all night, I was now feeling unbearably sleepy. I returned to my room and lay down on the bed. Lucy and Yao Buhui looked at me with deep concern. Old Li was bowing his head, lost in thought. I signaled to Lucy that I was fine, assuring her that a good sleep would suffice. When I woke up, I would treat them to a delicious meal. Hearing the sound of cooking, the eccentric Mr. Li burst into laughter, claiming he had a brilliant idea. Today's lunch would be his responsibility. Upon hearing that their master wanted to take over the kitchen, Dao Butthoi and Lucy immediately panicked. Lucy even knelt down, clinging to Dao Butthoi's legs, weeping inconsolably. Last time Master roasted a rabbit, I could only muster the courage to take a single bite, and it left me bedridden for 3 days. This time, who knows if it will be 3 months' porm. Suddenly, a massive lump, like a giant dumpling, appeared above Lucy's head, soaring out from the kitchen, filled with premium ingredients. High-quality ingredients usually require only the simplest cooking methods. But if one intends to poison someone, the same principle applies. With that, he poured all sorts of toxic substances into the pot, muttering, "Meat-thin, how arrogant of me to step into the kitchen. Watch as I attempt to poison him." In an instant, the pan erupted with a resounding bang, emitting a dazzling light, while the kitchen erupted in a cacophony of explosive sounds. Mr. Li stared blankly at the pan, bewildered by its sudden explosion. Moments later, he collapsed to the ground, unconscious. When Mr. Li finally regained consciousness, the first thing he did was grab the pan. Upon closer inspection, it was just an ordinary pan. Why had it exploded? As he pondered this, the pan glowed brilliantly, instantly forming the silhouette of Tian Dao in the air. Mr. Li was taken aback, realizing he had become the clever one. It turned out that last night, Mi Tian had deliberately dialed number 9. The main objective was to seal Lo Kit's power within this very pan. Now the pan had transformed into a formidable and terrifying magical artifact. That explosion just now was triggered by your accidental activation of the artifact, causing the power of the heavenly Tao to leak out. Mi Tian truly turned an ordinary object into a supreme artifact, all to catch the opponent off guard. What a masterful move. While the old man was lost in his dreams, I suddenly appeared, causing Mr. Li to panic and leap 3 feet into the air. Embarrassed, I explained that I had come to check if the kitchen was damaged due to the blast. However, the kitchen seems fine. But Mr. Li's condition appears quite serious. He's scratching his head in a daze, insisting that it's just superficial injuries. Is there something wrong with him? Doesn't he realize his own situation? It turns out he must be headed for the ICU at this rate. According to the rules of the immortal cultivators, it's common for them to suddenly go mad or cause a huge explosion. Could Mr. Li's madness be something like that? Piecing together the clues, I immediately asked, "Mr. Li, would you like me to take a look at you?" I am an esteemed healer, yet Mr. Li stubbornly refused my help. Dao Butthoi and Lucy, witnessing their master in distress, knew it was my duty as a healer. They held Mr. Li firmly, no matter how much he struggled, determined to pull him away from the kitchen. Just as we stepped out of the kitchen, Dao Butthoi suddenly turned pale, collapsing to the ground and clutching his stomach in agony. The chaotic flow of spiritual energy within him felt as if it was being violently cleansed. Seeing this, I was taken aback. After a moment of diagnosis, I pulled out a silver needle and apologized. "I'm so sorry. Yesterday, while I was acupuncturing Miss Yao, I accidentally forgot a needle." Hearing this, crazy old Li instantly breathed a sigh of relief. Dao Buhoi's condition had improved significantly. Her face was flushed as she sat up. If it weren't for the teacher's help yesterday, she might have been severely injured by now. It's definitely due to all the worry that she ended up like this. This foolish girl has left me utterly bewildered. Oh, and the three of us haven't had breakfast yet. I need to go prepare breakfast. With that, I darted out like the wind. A short while later, I returned with a pot of kanji, serving it to them one bowl at a time. The crazy old man, true to his title as master, took one glance and immediately recognized that this was no ordinary dish. The rich essence of heaven and earth was palpable. What in the world is Mi Tian trying to showcase by displaying such treasures? Lucy, the gluttonous girl, was drooling at the sight of breakfast, while Dao Buhoi sipped slowly from her bowl. Just as she took a sip, the bowl slipped from her hands. Her body trembled, and immediately, a powerful surge of spiritual energy erupted from her. It turned out she was breaking through Yi. A symbol of 3 leaves appeared on her forehead as she leaped up 2 levels, surpassing the 3-leaf sword. This filled Crazy Old Lee and Lucy with uncontainable joy. Crazy Old Lee looked at the bowl of kanji on the table and realized something was amiss. Although this bowl contained spiritual essence, it needed to be refined slowly. Could it be that before, Naktiothean had helped Dao Buhoi open her meridians? If that's the case, perhaps Naktiothean could also assist me with a few acupuncture points. Can't I also develop gross? As I thought about this, I cleared my throat and realized that my bowl of porridge had been drained dry. My body felt a bit off. Oh, this old man, just yesterday he was still in good health. Could it be that he's about to face misfortune again? I sought death swinging a frying pan at Luojie, intending to fight back. But this so-called strongest Luojie, who has struck me for 9 continuous days, and yet I haven't lost a single hair. Just yesterday, the team leader, Mr. Li Feng, was the one who ended up in trouble. After I brewed a bowl of porridge, the moment he drank it, Leon immediately cried out in discomfort. I had no choice but to use a bit of the medical skills I had learned to treat him. His 2 disciples stood outside, shaking their heads in dismay at the pig-like screams of Leon. A man over 1,000 years old, yet he screams like that from just a needle prick. Meanwhile, I sat inside, happily observing Leon's face, which was all poked and prodded like a hedgehog. Leon, my good sir, it seems our first treatment has come to an end. However, I noticed signs of improvement in his body. For the next few days, well, do acupuncture once a day. What I have to endure, 81 needle pricks from you for an entire week. Hearing this, the old man couldn't help but react in disbelief. I assure you, after my 9 sessions of treatment, you will fully recover. To hear I need to endure 9 more sessions, Leon collapsed, tears glistening in his eyes. Just 9 days of acupuncture. Truly, for me, it feels like an unbearable nightmare. I often hear him mention the thunder of the 9th, so out of curiosity, I asked, the thunder of the 9th last night, was that it Neth? Just hearing the name seemed daunting, but experiencing it firsthand was nothing too terrifying. Mr. Lean, sparked by my boastful words, said, "You have no idea how horrifying the thunder of the 9th truly is. It will strike at midnight for 9 consecutive days, and each day, its power will double compared to the previous one. On the 9th day, its strength will be the culmination of the previous 8 days. Just think about it. Isn't that impressive?" Hearing this, I couldn't help but agree indeed. It sounded formidable. Does that mean this thunder has its own consciousness? I wonder if anyone in the realm of cultivation would dare to write about it like this. If its power doubles each day, then surely today the thunder will be a bit stronger, right? As I was lost in thought, Mr. Lean couldn't help but want to smack me. He grabbed my collar and started biting me. Damn it, I've talked so much, yet you still laugh. Don't you have a sense of danger? I immediately felt embarrassed and pulled out the needle. This time, I wouldn't forget to take it out. By midnight, I stood on the mountaintop, still holding my frying pan. I boldly shouted, "I'm ready." Don't think just because I'm the one watering the plants, you can let up on me. Go ahead and strike me with all your might. At that moment, the embodiment of the heavenly Tao in the sky was charging itself with fury. Damn it, I had attacked all night last night and didn't even touch a single hair on that little donkey. Today, I will amplify my power. I refuse to believe that I can't defeat him. The energy is almost fully charged. The manifestation of the heavenly Tao looks down from the clouds, and at that moment, it catches sight of me, standing on the beach with a frying pan in hand. This left the heavenly Tao somewhat flustered. There are even people pleading for me to take him down. Upon a closer look, I recalled that last night he was attacking the little donkey, and I had diverted the thunderstorm. Yet now, he comes to me empty-handed and without any effort. This is truly a case of him bringing trouble upon himself. If he wants to shoot, he should shoot the horse first. Today my power is doubled. I refuse to believe that I can't handle him. Thunder roared down from the heavens. The mountaintop was obliterated. When a ray of sunlight broke through, I threw the frying pan down in fury and shouted, "Is this a joke? You've been hitting me all night, and I didn't feel a thing. Even a common person wouldn't be knocked out, yet you dare to call yourself the heavenly Tao. Wait a minute, damn it, I'll be back tomorrow." Meanwhile, the manifestation of the heavenly Tao was fuming, its nose turning red with rage. "Damn it, today I've brought a small charger, and tomorrow I must double my power. I will definitely take him down." So, I kept scheduling my thunderous encounters each day. Day 3, 4, 5, and by the 8th day, I had grown increasingly hardened. Then came the 9th day, where Lian Gong and his disciples sat indoors watching the thunderstorm. Lucy felt a bit worried. "Is your brother in danger? If he doesn't return, I'll be very concerned. Is this thunderstorm truly that formidable? Every night, Ye Gong goes out to provoke it. Could it be that he's using the thunderstorm to cultivate his techniques?" Lian Gong remarked that Ye Gong is not as simple as you think. We should just observe the situation for now. Meanwhile, I sit atop the mountain, waiting for the 9th thunderstorm. Damn it, it's been 8 days without a hint of it. Can we still call this a thunderstorm system? In the sky, the manifestation of the heavenly Tao has gathered all the reserve energy. Today I'm betting everything, ensuring the voltage is high, waiting for the thunder to strike me. I refuse to believe it won't hit me. So here I am, shovel in hand, ready for the thunder to come down. Today, Loi Kiet seemed truly different, a numbing sensation washing over him, so blissfully comfortable. Could this be the feeling of being struck by lightning? Just as the deity of the heavenly Tao heard my words of comfort, he instantly erupted in fury, cursing, "You dare say you're comfortable." And thus, another storm of relentless attacks began. I stood atop the mountain, only to be shattered once more. After 9 days of continuous battle, I was utterly drained, left with no choice but to find a comfortable position to lie down, awaiting the thunderous torment. I sighed helplessly. The next day, as I descended the mountain, I muttered to myself, 9 days in, and yet I'm still not dead. What kind of thunder is this? Truly unbelievable. Suddenly, a beam of golden light captivated me. Oh heavens, what is this? It's blinding. Today, a tiny suicidal trick has arrived, just as Tuikat and I had arranged our 9-day break. As usual, no one had approved it. It turns out, Cat remains unreliable, and once again, I was engulfed in dazzling golden light. What in the heavens is going on? The sword that was shattered by that little donkey days ago suddenly explodes. It turns out that last night, during my battle with Tuikat, a bolt of lightning struck the sword. The lightning activated the hidden properties within it, and the broken sword shattered and reformed into a magnificent new sword. There's no other way. I have to return the sword to Yobut Hoi first. However, just as I grasped the magnificent new sword, Luktum appeared, calling out to me anxiously. She asked if I was okay, saying that Tuikat looked terrifying last night. "Are you all right?" I tried to appear brave, assuring her that I was fine and still able to jump around, though I felt a bit numb. Seeing my nonchalance, I remembered that the broken sword had come back to life. Instantly, I pulled out the magnificent new sword I had just picked up. "This is a treasure I found on my way home. It seems your sword has been resurrected." Yobut Hoi received the magnificent sword with a look of surprise. Luktum stealthily approached, saying, "Master Lin Kuang, that sword is indeed the one my sister broke." Lin Kuang stroked his beard, his expression contemplative. Logically speaking, a broken sword like this shouldn't be repairable, but for some reason, I feel that its current form truly reflects its inner spirit. Immediately, Lin Kuang inquired about how I found this magnificent sword. I scratched my head, recalling the moment I descended the mountain. At that moment, I saw the sword floating at the peak of the mountain. Although its shape had changed, I was certain it belonged to that girl, but Hoi. So I casually took it with me. Lin Kuang gazed at me in astonishment, silently pondering. He composed poetry for the broken sword, surely to bring it back to life. But why pretend to be ignorant while assisting Bu Hoi in reforging the treasured blade? At this moment, Luktum also showed interest. Do you know what changes this sword has undergone? I could only sigh inwardly. Oh heavens, how would I know? I could only helplessly explain that I wasn't quite sure myself. The only one who truly understood the current state of the sword has to be Bu Hoi. Upon hearing this, Bu Hoi didn't respond immediately, but instead raised the treasured sword high. Focusing her mind, she then executed a sword technique. After a series of precise movements, Bu Hoi landed firmly on the ground, and the treasured sword in her hand emitted a brilliant light. In an instant, the scattered fragments that had gathered began to disperse. She swirled around Bu Hoi, and when she gestured, the fragments flew back, ultimately reassembling into a magnificent sword. Lin Kuang was astonished by the scene. This sword radiated the power of a heavenly calamity. Could it be that it absorbed the might of the celestial catastrophe last night? Bu Hoi raised the grand sword high, while Luktum watched with envy and excitement. Holding the treasured sword, Bu Hoi felt a twinge of worry. It seemed as if the sword possessed its own spirit, even guiding her through the techniques she performed. Contemplating this, she clasped her hands in gratitude towards me. Thank you, Mr. Nak, for helping my friend be reborn. Bu Hoi was immensely touched. I quickly waved my hand, saying, It's nothing, Bu Hoi. I merely picked up the sword on a whim. But this sword, it seems a bit unstable. Transformation was unpredictable, a miraculous wonder indeed. It was a divine sword. Before I could finish my thought, the treasured sword transformed again, slipping from my grasp, and another blinding spectacle unfolded. What was happening now? Yu But Hoi expressed her gratitude to me for helping her acquire the divine sword. Meanwhile, Lin Kuang muttered to herself, using a pure sword as the foundation to forge anew, channeling the power of heavenly tribulation to craft it. The might of this treasured sword is truly unfathomable. But why go through such trouble to forge it for a stranger? Are you really planning to take us as your disciples? As I faced the gratitude emanating from But Hoi, a wave of embarrassment washed over me. Just when But Hoi was about to say something, a sudden hissing sound erupted around her. In an instant, her clothes were reduced to tatters, leaving everyone in utter shock. I stood before her, speechless and wide-eyed. Wow, this girl is truly fearless. I couldn't believe she was still concerned about me after witnessing But Hoi's fall. The scene shifted, and But Hoi had donned a completely new outfit. Luktum mocked, Is your treasured sword really that powerful? It seems a bit costly for just a few clothing scraps. Meanwhile, I slumped against the wall, my face clouded with despair. This sword is too powerful. If I lose control for even a moment, I might end up as nothing more than a pile of flesh. Suddenly, a spark ignited in my mind. As a clever individual, I devised a small suicide trick. To save the girl crossing the street, I had suffered a left leg fracture, which led me to receive the scholar system, enabling me to smoothly pass the college entrance exam. I have entered the system realm to learn culture. 10 years later, I wish to return to the real world, but the system states that the only way to leave is to be killed by someone else. Thus, I embarked on a slow path towards death. At this moment, the little donkey sits forlornly on the steps. I never imagined that I would help Dao But Hoi to repair her sword and even bestow upon it a name. Men are nothing but great pigs. They are gray wolves in the realm of love. Therefore, he is resolute in reclaiming me. However, at this moment, he is unable to control the building stone, which has shattered into pieces. Dao But Hoi has completed her outfit. Mr. Nia does not feel regret for not mastering advanced martial arts, unable to wield the sword proficiently. Please forgive me for having seen the girl's body, and I must apologize to her. I can only shyly lower my head. The girl, Dao But Hoi, has just obtained the sword and is surely still unfamiliar with it. If you don't mind, could we spar a few moves so she can get accustomed to the sword's temperament? I possess some knowledge of martial arts. There's no need to hesitate. Feel free to strike without restraint. I ended up being shot dead by an arrow. Meanwhile, Dao Butthoi is still being polite with me. I look at him, feeling a sense of discomfort in my heart. This girl has just acquired new equipment. Shouldn't she seek someone to challenge and test her strength? Or does she think I am too weak to be worth her effort? If she doesn't make a move, how could she possibly kill me? If I don't die, how will I ever get home? I glanced at my hands, devoid of any weapon. Does she really think it's unfair if I'm unarmed? With that thought, I immediately took off running. Dao Butthoi, I understand your intentions. Just hold on a moment. Two stood frozen, their minds swirling with questions. Meanwhile, I grabbed the large frying pan I had used to battle natural disasters and slung it around my neck. Dao Butthoi, I've brought armor. Just focus your strength and fight against me. Dao Butthoi, you only need to engage in combat with Mr. Nia. Don't worry about hurting him. Receiving recognition from her master, Dao Butthoi didn't hesitate, immediately unleashing the moves of Bakhoi. Mr. Nia had already wounded me, so I braced myself, readying my frying pan in a defensive stance. The sword in Dao Buthoi's hand surged forward with incredible speed. I too took a step back, firmly grounding myself on 2 feet while gripping the frying pan tightly. In that instant, hundreds of shards from the sword shot toward me, colliding with the frying pan. Li Fengtu and Lucy were both left in awe by this scene. This could not simply be called powerful, it was terrifying. While it didn't harm Dao Butthoi, it had the potential to obliterate the wall just a few feet away. This was no ordinary technique that a merchant could compare to. Even at my peak, I could not achieve something like this. What is the true power of this monster? What schemes does he harbor? Each time I watch Dao Butthoi unleash this technique, an overwhelming sense of frustration wells up within me. When will I finally master a real killing blow? My impatience grows, urging me to charge towards his blade. At this moment, Dao Butthoi finally shifts his technique, deciding to launch a powerful move to test my strength. Clutching the frying pan tightly, I think to myself, at last, the moment has come. I have waited so long for this. As the distance dwindles to a mere 0.01 meters, I slowly lower the frying pan, my face calm, preparing myself to be struck down by him. Dao Butthoi notices my apparent fear, yet unexpectedly, the power emanating from the frying pan surges forth, repelling all the incoming shards of his blade. I squint, waiting for a sensation to wash over me, but nothing comes. The feeling of impending death still eludes me. I crack one eye open to sneak a peek. The scene before me is terrifying. Li Fengtu and the other two look at me with expressions of utter disbelief. Dao Butthoi is the first to react, saying, Dao Buthoi's skills are lacking, nearly causing injury to you. Nia, please punish me as you see fit. I can only awkwardly wave my hand, signaling him not to take it to heart. Inside, I feel a pang of bitterness. The tip of the sword is just 0.01 meters from me, yet he can retract his technique. What other rules of heaven and earth are at play here? Dao Butthoi tries to apologize again, but is cut off by Li Fengtu, who says, why don't you try retracting your sword? Dao Butthoi immediately considers this suggestion. The fragments falling to the ground began to tremble before slowly rising into the air. Amid Dao Buthoi's astonishment, they swiftly gathered together. Li Fengtu, stroking his beard, observed this spectacle and said, is it easier to control now? Dao Butthoi suddenly realized the depth of Li Fengtu's words. Previously, the sword seemed to embody the laws of heaven and earth, yet the energy it could absorb was limited. That was why she couldn't exert control before. Mr. Nie had truly taken advantage of their duel to awaken the dormant spirit of the sword, allowing it to connect with her mind. Dao Butthoi gazed at the sword in his hand, astonishment etched on his face, while I, the one who had failed once more, felt an overwhelming urge to surrender. In a state of despair, I picked up the frying pan, seeking solace in silence. As I stepped out the door, I didn't forget to remind them to feed my little donkey. The little donkey wouldn't munch on grass, it only ate whatever you offered it. Li Fengtu immediately agreed. Lucy, upon hearing Li Fengtu was cooking, rushed over to Dao Butthoi, her tears spilling as she clung to him, crying out, Sister, I'm still young, I don't want to die.